Hello, everyone. Jason Hagholm here and back for another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. And to do this show, I would, of course, need the gentleman of mixed martial arts, the gentleman Josh Hill. And Josh, first of all, how are you? I mean, I know you just got back from a movie, which, may as well take it in. And what movie did you go see?
I went and seen that Shang-Chi, the Legend of the Ten Rings, the Marvel one. It was pretty good. You know, like I was saying to you off air, it was. If you like Marvel, I think you'll like it. I would say it wasn't one of the best ones, but it wasn't one of the worst either. I'd say it's like a mid-level Marvel movie. Yeah, it was good.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's one I want to check out, seeing as it is right now only available in theaters, and I haven't been to the movie since the start of this whole pandemic. So
Really, since the start,
I haven't been since just before. The last movie I saw in theaters was Bad Boys 3.
Oh, I saw that in theaters too, actually. Yeah, yeah, man. In fact, I love the theater, dude. I'm worried about that with all this shit that it'll kind of fold and people won't go back to theaters or don't want to go back and they want to just watch movies at home. Which I don't like that, man. I mean, I'd love watching movies at home, but I'm a theater guy. I love that shit.
I think the theater will find a way to keep it in existence. Honestly, just there's something about seeing a new movie out, making it a whole evening centered around that movie.
Yeah,
it'll be back. It's not the same trying to watch a new movie at home, whether on a streaming service or buying it through a device or anything like that. I'd rather go see a new movie in theater anyway.
Absolutely, dude. It's not comparable, you know. So I'm hoping people start, going back to that shit and they don't make it extinct like so many other good things.
No, I think the movie industry will be fine, and it'll find a way to return once a lot of sanctions and stuff are lifted. But yeah, as we transition from you going to check out a movie, I mean, it was a busy week in the realm of mixed martial arts. I mean, first off, we called a show BTC 12 in Burlington, the return of MMA to Ontario. And this was a real fun show for a fight card that only had 4 fights. Yeah. All 4 fights really delivered and then some. We had a wild crowd, a sold-out environment, and, just that energy was there that, we'd missed for, the show we did in Vancouver. And it was just nice to see fights back in this province.
Yeah, man. It was good. Ontario, at one point was like they called it the Mecca of MMA, and it was like the hotbed, and it was awesome here for a while, and then shit just went south, big time here, and almost died completely. Yeah, thankfully got a show back here with BTC, put it on at the gym, which I thought was pretty cool, and it worked. And yeah, man, it was a plagued card, losing fight after fight, only down to 4 fights, which is astonishing they even went forward with it, but I'm glad they did, because like you said, the 4 fights, they were, and there were also 4 fights with guys were under 3-4 fights, well, all of them, I think, under 2 fights, so, most of them, so you don't really know what to expect with that either, right? So, but they all delivered, man. They're all exciting, entertaining, good, some even back and forth matchups, some one-sided fights, but yeah, they're all good, and hey, the crowd was that crazy, which is fun. I like that, but yeah, man, it was good.
The crowd was, I think, half the story of the fight card, especially for our co and main events, where people got a little too rambunctious and did things that I hadn't seen before. A fan base storming the cage after their guy won, which, I get where their heart was in the right place, but just, settle it down a little bit. But yeah, I just thought the fights were good. It was great to see the energy back around, people getting excited about fights in this province. And, it was 8 guys that really just put it all on the line and fought hard in each and every fight. And, now it just gets me excited for their next show, BTC 13 in November 20th in St. Catharines, because obviously, you're having a fight card, but they announced the bantamweight, $10,000 bantamweight tournament, which I think is just fantastic to go to the root of MMA in a division that right now is just pumping out prospects at 135 pounds. And, you know, we're going to probably see some great fights. We may have Adam Asenza, who's a former BTC champion, return probably for the last time. So, I mean, there's a lot of big hype going around to 13 after a fun BTC 12 on Saturday night.
Yeah, I love tournament format stuff. I think it just kind of just adds just another layer of excitement to fights, and it's just kind of cool. And you can see who might match up with who and who's on what side of the bracket. And for majority of the guys in the tournament, it's all going to be guys very very minimal pro experience, right? You know, probably 3-4 fights or less around there. So it's a good opportunity for them to kind of to strive for something. And you know, like I was saying at the show, money in this sport is it's not great, and especially at the lower level, lower tier, and minimal amount of fights. So for them to have a shot at 10 G's within their first 3, 4, 5 fights, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the money's out there, and just the quality of fighters. I mean, it was a catchweight at 140, but they're bantamweights naturally. Nate Small, Amir Bani. I mean, that fight was unbelievable. Like, when the replay is available to order this pay-per-view on BTC, but if you don't order it, I mean, I'd say go order it. But if you miss out when it gets uploaded to their YouTube page, you have to go out of your way to see. This was everything you'd want in a fight. Just the fight just swinging back and forth, and then how it finished out was just unbelievable. I mean, one of my most favorite fights I've called with BTC.
Yeah, it was good, man. And I picked Amir to win just basically solely on I've trained with him, so I know his skill set. I haven't ever trained with Nate, so I don't know much about him. So I was just going solely off that, and yeah, man, it was so even back and forth. It ended in the third round, but the first 2 rounds, it was like, it could have went either way both rounds. You know what I mean? It was very, very close. He could have given Amir the first, maybe the second to Nate, and then the third Nate kind of took over, and I think it was kind of he won the stamina. You know what I mean? He had a little bit better cardio and was able to outlast Amir and sunk in that choke and finished him. But yeah, very, very good fight, and possibly match up again maybe in the tournament.
Yeah, we'll see where the cards draw, where their names draw to come out into this tournament. But all in all, a fun night of fights for 4 fights. To see the packed crowd too was great, because I know once we hit St. Catharines on November 20th, that place is going to be bumping even more. Niagara Falls for BTC 8 was, obviously the most successful crowd we've had for BTC's had, and I expect it to be nonetheless the same. And it's just the start now of Canadian MMA getting going. This is now the BTC 12 is the start of like their card. Unified is this Friday, Unified 41, and then the 2 BFL shows to close out September going into October. So it's nice to see the Canadian MMA scene, starting to get back to what it once was before the pandemic.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been shit here. It's been in shit a lot of places, really, but especially here in Canada, just there hasn't been any shows, and a lot of guys haven't had a platform to fight or opportunity. So yeah, it's good to get this shit going again.
Yeah, well, as we transition from the Canadian MMA scene, there's 2 MMA legends that called it a career this past week. Literally on the same day, we had Joseph Benavidez retire, and then Carlos the Natural Born Killer Condit retire as well. And 2 guys that were some of the guys that laid the foundations for the success of the WEC and then transferring to the UFC, had a lot of success there. I mean, let's just start with Carlos Condit first. I mean, this is a guy that was an interim welterweight champion, a former WEC welterweight champion, and had one of the best nicknames in the sport, the Natural Born Killer, and he just always brought it. Was in a blood and guts type of fight, never backed down, and to me, he's one of the best welterweights that's ever fought, and at a time when welterweight was really just a murderer's row.
Yeah, exactly. I remember watching him in WEC, and yeah, he was definitely one of my favorites early, man. He was awesome, and he's been around for so long, and so many classic fights. They're just tough, rugged, durable guy that just, I just love watching him fight, man. Yeah, so I'm sad to see him go, but that time comes for all of us at some point. And I mean, he's probably late 30s, I would imagine now, but I'm not sure how old he is, but a lot of miles on him too, though. You know what I mean? A lot of fights, a lot of battles. So those add up, right? So, you know, it sucks to see it go, but yeah, man, I always been a huge fan.
Yeah, Carlos Condit, a lot of people don't realize, like, he began his career in the year 2002. So he was, like, I believe a teenager at that point when he started his journey into mixed martial arts, and then
19 years, man.
Yeah, fought in Japan at Pancrase, and then transitioned from there to the WEC, where he eventually won their welterweight championship. And I remember his last fight in the WEC, where he defended the title against Hiromitsu Miura, like one of the best fights that WEC had before they dissolved pretty much from 170 up, and it was just the lighter weight divisions. And you know, this is a guy that I thought, you know, the moment he became made was when he knocked out Dan Hardy in England. Like, that was supposed to be Dan Hardy, you know, resetting, getting another opportunity, quick turnaround back at GSP, and he just that big hook, dropping Hardy and just sending all of England into silence, and just really turned Condit's career around, where he, you know, get those fights with Nick Diaz and fight GSP, and was one of the rare guys that actually hurt GSP, if you remember that.
Yeah.
So
I was there front row for that. I remember. Yeah, we got front row seats, and it was in Montreal. And you know, obviously I'm a huge George fan, but I love Condit too. So I was just kind of like, just wanted to see a good fight. And yeah, he did that. You know, I call it the Condit kick because he kind of throws that cross, rolls underneath the hook, but throws the left head kick at the same time. And such a nice technique, and just clipped him and dropped him, and the whole place just kind of like went silent. And it was like, holy shit, he just, you know, that close to beating George, winning the title.
Yeah, that was like one of the rare moments in George's dominance where you thought, oh my God, he's gonna lose right here, because he hadn't really been clipped like that. George always just found a way to use his wrestling, control you, smother you, and kind of just break your will. And then Condit, you can never break his will. This guy would always just find a way. If he was down, you know,
the Rory McDonald fight is like that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, that was supposed to be Rory's coming out party, and Condit was like, absolutely not. I'm still going to find a way to keep my highlights going, my career going. And then I just remember his, you know, win against Dunhyun Kim with the flying knee. Yes. Like, that was just for an amazing UFC 2, that card, that UFC 132. That was like the fight to me that really started the amazing moments that we had on that card. And yeah, it's just, obviously he Condit got hurt. Had the amazing fight also in 2016, the beginning of 2016, with Robbie Lawler for the title.
Yeah,
like,
crazy.
A fight of the year candidate and a round of the year, that round 5 in 2016. And man, just kind of set. He's one of the guys that's unfortunate, where injuries kind of probably led to this happening a little bit sooner than maybe he would have liked. But he seemed fine with, you know, retiring. I heard him speak today. But all in all, what a career that this guy had, for when, like I said, when welterweight was just a murderer's row of killers.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's the man.
And the other guy that retired as well is Joseph Benavidez, who's a guy that's been, you know, I believe, 13 years he was related with, you know, Zuffa, whether it was WEC, UFC, you know, fought in Japan, in Dream, before coming over to Zuffa with WEC and UFC. And this is a guy that was always a bridesmaid, never a bride, but such a talented technical fighter. And I always give him props, because, you know, he was a bantamweight, didn't get it done in WEC, then moved down to flyweight, fought, you know, I had 2 shots at the title there, and then came back around again just last year to get a shot at the title against Figueiredo. You know, obviously the first fight he loses, but Figgy doesn't make weight, and then he didn't have things at all go his way. But I just respect the endurance and the will of Joseph Benavidez. And I mean, what's it mean for you hearing him retire, since you spent some time out there at Alpha Male?
Yeah, you know, it's again, it sucks to see another guy that's been a, you know, icon in the sport for a long time go. But again, it comes, everybody's going to happen to everybody sooner or later, you know what I mean? And he's another guy that's been around for quite a long time, and a lot of wear and tear on your body too, and a lot of wars that he's been through. But yeah, Joe, man, like, I remember I met Joe my first time out at Alpha Male, and I didn't know what to expect, but probably the nicest guy ever, you know, super, super chill, easygoing, nice guy, like, you know, in training and outside of it. So yeah, he's just, yeah, such a stud, man, and awesome fighter You know, he said he's basically the best flyweight, you know, with the exception of DJ. And then, you know, his losses to Figgy just didn't happen for him, you know, unfortunately. So yeah, you know, and then his, you know, he had a crack at the WC gold too, but it was Cruz that, you know, so if you look at all his losses, man, they're like Cruz, the Figueiredos, the DJs, like it just all stars, you know what I mean? So this guy is the top level talent, always has been. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, you know, the next chapter for him, whatever he decides to do or whatever he is doing, you know, he'll do well at it. I'm sure he will, and he'll be happy with it. So yeah, I'm sad to see him go. But yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah, I think, you know, he's definitely a legend for the lighter weight classes. And, you know, even like he gets outshined because he was at Alpha Male when Faber was really like the biggest guy coming out from that gym, and always putting on, you know, getting title opportunities at 145. And he's kind of like, I guess, you know, Dan Marino in a way, where, you know, Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl, but that's because there was like a Steve Young or a Troy Aikman or Joe Montana in front of him. And that's kind of the way I look at Benavidez's career, is he had the talent to win a title. It's just guys that were just that much better than him were in the weight class when he was there.
Yeah, you know, or just, you know, yeah, he lost, but I mean, it just, you know, if they fought again, he could have definitely won the fight. You know what I mean? Like he's there, he's at that level, and just didn't happen for him. That's, you know, that's all it is. And it's not like he could not be a champion for sure. You know, if somebody else had the title at the time, maybe he would have, or whatnot. You know, or if the timing was different, maybe, who knows? But yeah, he's at that. You know, because you see, like he'll, you know, lose to DJ and then put a string together of like 5-6 wins in a row of killers too, you know, and then, you know, lose and then again beat all the guys again. So he's kind of a guy. He's probably like a nightmare for the UFC to match up, because he's taken away all of your potential title challengers because he's beaten them all, but he hasn't beat the champ. You know, he's kind of stuck in that position, right? So, but yeah, man, you know, it is what it is.
What do you think the legacy of, I guess, a Joseph Benavidez and a Carlos Condit are, Josh? Because to me, I think Joe's legacy is, while he may, you know, always a bridesmaid, never a bride, but every time he fought, the vibe I always got on social media was everyone was rooting for him because he was just such a nice guy, and everyone wanted to see him finally break through and, you know, get that championship, kind of like the way, you know, baseball fans were all rooted for when the Chicago Cubs won a World Series. Like that's what the reaction would have been like in the MMA bubble if Benavidez was able to get a UFC championship.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. It's you know, I think you'll have a much more of a legacy, I should say, that with MMA fans rather than just UFC fans, because, like I always say this, UFC fans tend to kind of be fair weather and they kind of forget a lot of things, and whoever's hot at the time, then you know, that's who they're into. And also they don't really look past, you know, I don't know, the last 5-8 years or whatever, when this guy was killing it in the WC and other organizations, right? So I think true MMA fans will recognize that. They recognize real, and he's a guy that's been around a long time. I still remember I was training with Wagner Fabiano, and Wagner brought us to Brazil, and I remember, you know, this was like, I was just starting out. I'm like, and then Wagner was getting ready to fight somebody, and his opponent changed. I'm like, who you fighting? He's like, Benavidez. And I was like, oh shit, you know. And then, you know, Joe ended up beating Wagner, but yeah, it's crazy, man. You know, to think that far back, you know. Cool.
I mean, to me, it just makes me feel old because, like, I remember getting into the sport. I mean, I think a lot of people that have been following the sport for a while, they feel old, and it's like, wow, how much time has changed. Where I remember when these guys, like, it just not even that long ago, like 10, maybe 12 years ago, were at the top of their weight classes, and now they're no longer in the sport. And it just goes to show how quick time moves on and how quick this sport evolves.
Oh, huge, man. You know, we talk about when I'm commentating how we see these debut guys like they look like they had 20 pro fights, you know.
Yeah.
Where when I started, you could tell it was a debut fighter, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think back and I'm like, yeah, 10 years, you know, goes by and it's like, holy shit, like where did time go? And these are guys that, you know, I feel old, but I still, you know, you see guys like Aldo, who I was watching before I even started training, but he's only like a year older than me or my age. You know what I mean? He's a guy that's just been around forever, but because he started so young, right? So, but yeah, it's crazy to see, and I think you'll see more and more of these turnovers. You know, you'll see more and more of these guys retiring in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. The bigger names that kind of came from into the UFC or the other promotions from Strikeforce, from WC, from Pride. You know, I think there's only like 1 or 2 Pride fighters left still competing.
Yeah, it's like we got Overeem. He's still kickboxing,
and then there's another one.
Technically, Anderson Silva, I guess you could say.
I guess Verdum, wherever he goes.
Verdum, yeah.
Is he with PFL still? I think he's with PFL.
He's with them still, I believe, under contract. But
yeah, there's only and Fedor, I guess. Yeah,
Fedor, yeah. But yeah, it's just crazy how much time has changed. Everything evolves, obviously, but you know, you got to sometimes step back and realize how much it has changed and everything like that. But all in all, I believe on the broadcast on Saturday for the UFC, which I haven't seen, but I did see their social media post like a congratulations on great careers to both Condit and Joseph Benavidez, and I thought that was, you know, nice of them to do because they don't really do that a lot for some of these guys that, you know, retire. But those guys,
they don't know.
Those guys that, you know, their blood, sweat, and tears helped get the UFC to the point where they are, especially Condit. Like,
well, I could understand. I mean, I guess you can't recognize everybody, but if somebody comes in the UFC and goes, you know, 1-3 or 0-2, and then they retire a couple years later, it's like, I mean, you can't say. I mean, thousands of fighters have come through there, right? But yeah, guys like Condit and Joe, like, you got to recognize that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wish them all the best in whatever they do outside of competing in MMA. I know Carlos Condit is competing in like a grappling tournament or one of those submission underground things on Fight Pass next month. So he's still going to stay active. And I mean, I don't know what Joe's going to do. I could see him in one of those things. But I mean,
I heard. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while, but from what I remember hearing, it was like once he retires, he's done with the sport. and like I remember thinking that when I was like younger, I was like, oh really? Like that's kind of like weird, you know. I think I'll always be involved, but as I get older, I can understand it a little bit more, you know, just because you put so much time into something and just kind of like. For me right now, I still will always train and always be involved, I think, but I can understand more as more guys would be like, you know what, I'm done with it. I'm moving on to something else. That chapter's behind. And yeah, so we'll see what he does.
We'll see what he does. I mean, he's got those options outside of the sport, right? Like his Instagram is just him basically talking about movies. And he's a big movie guy like yourself. So I can see him doing some sort of movie podcast or whatever. Like he's just so invested in films and obviously expanded his thoughts on them during the lockdown where no one else had anything else to do but watch movies.
Yeah. I was doing similar shit, doing movie rankings and shit, just because in the early stages we were just kind of, you know, bored and just wanted to do stuff. You know, we can only do stuff online or at home. So yeah, I could see him doing something like that.
Yeah, I just wish them both the best and thank them for all their contributions to the realm of mixed martial arts. And then moving on, as we kind of had a bit of a big news day last week, there's a new promotion that's coming out, Josh. It's supposed to launch in 2023, the WFL, the World Fighting League. And it's kind of a team-based thing, kind of like the IFL, but you're getting shares from the revenue, which, I mean, we always talk about fighter pay. So I don't know if I like the team idea and you can delve in like, you know, free agency or what have you. With this league, but anything to help improve fighter pay, I'm there for.
So I knew about this a while ago.
Oh wow!
I had the insider tip, bro. I'm sure I'm allowed to say it now. It's been public, but yeah, a friend of mine, Darren Owen, who was part of World Series fight in Canada when they ran it in Canada. He is involved with this, and he was just kind of, we were always kind of keep in touch, and we're talking about it and whatnot. But he kind of showed me the whole concept and the layout of it, and yeah, man, I right away I seen it, and I was like, this is pretty cool. And what he told me too was, he goes, did you know that the NHL and the NBA are like nonprofit organizations? And I didn't know that. You know what I mean? So, he's saying, he's like, his point of view in this is the promotions, that these new promotions that come, they think they're going to be the next UFC, or they're going to compete with the UFC, and he doesn't want to go for that direct competition like that. What he wants to do is something different. He wants to do like a legit sports organization, NHL, whatnot, nonprofit organization, and then sell different franchises to different owners throughout the world. You know what I mean? So it will be like you said, a team concept. The fighters will be just like NHL, under contract. They can be traded. They can be, bought out of their you know what I mean? There's guaranteed salaries, which is huge. So yeah, it's a very cool concept. It's very interesting. And yeah, it could, if it does work out, which I hope it does for him, it could be a game changer.
I hope it works out, just for the fact of more promotions, the better for everyone, right? Like, we're kind of seeing, Bellator kind of build some momentum. PFL's wrapping up a season. There's one out there in Asia, which is just about to put on a big card and what have you. But and Ryzen as well. But I want more promotions out there, more guys. And I love the idea of the revenue sharing and what have you for it. I don't know. It's like, I like the team idea in a sense, but I just know it, like IFL, it didn't have it work. And the PFL has the sports system, but it's not a team. At least it's like your own team trying to get points to make it to the playoffs. But I hope they can make the team concept work, because I just feel like there is teams in MMA, but it's not a sport that can work with a team concept. I just hope they can find a way to make it work.
Yeah. I guess the difference would be, it's like the IFL, it was the IFL, and the IFL had just different teams, but it was all owned by the IFL. You know what I mean? So I guess the difference here would be like, some billionaire buys a team, puts a team together in Toronto. You know what I mean? So he's got the Toronto whatever's fighting here out of the Air Canada, or where Rogers now? I don't know. Scotiabank. And yes, you know what I mean? So he could have, this fighter, he has, heavyweight, he's got, there are multiple 2 heavyweights, light heavyweights, whatever, and he builds his team. And then again, can trade, can buy out. So I do like it. I think it's pretty cool. Will it work? I guess there's only one way to find out and see. I hope so. I think it'd be pretty cool. And I think it just would make the sport actually, like, I mean, it's legitimate now, of course, but like it would be most beneficial for the fighters. You know what I mean? And I think that is, again, I come from the fighter mentality over everything. So more beneficial for us than the better.
Yeah, I think that's my one takeaway from it, is they're looking out for fighters and trying to get them as much money, and guaranteed money at that they can kind of put away in their career. Because, we're just talking about guys that just retired, and it's like Carlos Condit, I guess, if you look at his Tapology, they have how much money they've made, and that's just, whatever. It's not official, but it's ballpark.
Yeah, don't go by that. That's not a ballpark.
But I mean, you see something like that, that's potentially a career earning. They may make a little more thanks to sponsorship. But you see a boxer like come away and he's like guaranteed $6 million. That's more than most fighters are going to ever see in their career. So that's why I'm kind of for this, and I'm always for more fighters getting paid more, because we know that's been the big talking point on this show and many different shows this year is UFC's not paying their fighters more. The only way that's going to change is, I guess, if you guys all come together and form a union and just push the change. Because as much as just bitching and saying fighters need to get paid more is not going to do anything. You guys got to come together, because all those changes in pro sports have happened through the fighters pushing the change to happen. But nonetheless, this league has, I think, a good game plan on getting people paid. And there's still, I'm not going to like write it off or anything like that. It's still not going to debut until like 2023. That's 2 years away. So there's 2 years to get, more modeling down, more plans down, and even try to find some, talent to get some eyeballs on or get some more intrigue in. I think they've already kind of caused a lot of intrigue just on the financial side of it alone.
Yeah, just from the name financial side. But again, in the next 2 years until they actually launch, they're going to sell as many franchises as they can, enough to make it an actual, legitimate competition throughout the world or North America. There's always going to be talent, right? So we'll see who they, that they build up some new ones, who they pull from, and what kind of money they can bring in and generate. So it'll see. We'll just kind of see how they. I think you'll see more things start coming out as in 2022. It's all kind of like the logistics and background work going on right now, and those are like the biggest hurdles and headaches I think there will be. But yeah, signing actual talent, I think you'll always have guys be willing, and whoever's got the dollar that and as a free agent, they'll go.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And I think the element of trading, like within this league, is going to be fun. Like we just saw when UFC and One made that trade for Demetrius Johnson and Askren. Like that was kind of like, whoa, we'd never seen that before, and probably would never see it again. Now, obviously, that'll be just in this WFL promotion, but nonetheless,
you might see it like all the time. Every month, this team traded this guy because and they have too many heavyweights. They got to get rid of somebody. You know what I mean? Like something like that they could just kind of do, or this guy's on the injury reserve for too long, so we're kind of going to trade him here to bring in a, what I mean? It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept. I mean, there's still a lot of, as I said, lots to figure out. But any league that it's trying to get you guys, the fighters, paid more and guaranteed money to go home with at the end of the day, I am down with. But as we said, not till 2023 they're launching. They just put their website up, and it's basically just their logo saying "coming soon." So there are lots to still wait and see on. But I mean, hey, more promotions the better.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, who knew you had the inside scoop and you were holding out on me there?
I didn't know what it was able to say and whatnot, but he said he was there going on Ariel's show soon, actually, and to kind of drop the bomb of what's happening. So it's out there now. I'm not spoiling anything.
No, I mean, they put some stuff out there, or some news about it was leaked. So obviously you're not spoiling anything, but I think the more news they can get out there, say every 6 months up until the launch, I think it's for the better too, right? You want to stay active. You don't want to just be like, hey, we have this potential new promotion. Our website's up, and then just you hear nothing until like 6 months before they launch. You want to keep staying out there and active and finding some guys that are available. Like, there's some heavyweights out there, like a Junior Dos Santos or something like that. I don't expect him to stay inactive that long, but
no, 2 years or year and a half, whatever.
But he's still out there. There's some names you can maybe get down to a contract and pay them. So who knows what's going to happen? There's still a lot of intrigue with this WFL league. So
a lot can happen in 2 years, right?
Yeah, like lots of, and we know that the UFC is looking to get rid of some of those contracts too. So there'll be some big names through there and what have you. So I think it's going to be a wild free agency scene. And maybe, we talked about last week how pro wrestling had kind of that buzz in free agency. Maybe by then we'll have all these guys going here, there, and, new faces in new places.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, it's good to have options.
Yeah, it's always good to have options. There was, a Bellator and a UFC card. I only really saw the main events. Obviously, Anthony Smith in the UFC kind of just dispatched of Ryan Spann pretty quickly, and is trying to now get a fight with Alexander Rakic, which they kind of booked themselves, I guess, for December. So good for them. I mean, and good for Smith. He's kind of going the Joe Benavidez route, where fought for a title, had some stumbles against some guys that, like a Glover Teixeira, and then had to come back around, and he's getting back to that spot where he once was, fighting for a title.
Yeah, man, he's a fighter. You know what I mean? You're gonna have losses, here and there, and against top competition like Jones and of course Glover. So yeah, I like Smith, man. You know, he's a very like kind of humble guy and just kind of just that tough, durable dude that's at that top level. You know, hasn't cracked obviously the championship level yet, but he's right there. So yeah, it's good on him.
It's good for him. And
he's
then
been around forever and fighting for a long time too. That's another guy that's kind of been through the ringer and done that and stuck with it. You know,
he's had some fights like in Strikeforce before they were dissolved, and he's been fighting forever, even like on the regional scene before any of this shine went on his career. And then the main event at Bellator, we had Yoel Romero make his debut, and then I was saying to myself, Phil Davis is a tough debut. Like you don't know what you're going to get with someone with that level of wrestling pedigree that's transitioned very well to the world of mixed martial arts. And not to say Yoel's wrestling hasn't at all, but it was Phil Davis just putting on a wrestling clinic and winning a split decision. One judge did score it for Romero, which I don't understand. But you know what? Good for Phil Davis. That's a win that he needed to remind people of just how good of a light heavyweight he is.
Yeah, man. I think about people forget about how good Phil is. You know, when he was in the UFC, he was a top guy then when he left. You know what I mean? So he's still a top guy now, and obviously to beat UL. So I wonder if the move up in weight class affected Romero and all. I know he's a huge 185er, like just chiseled and jacked, but maybe he put on a little bit too much size at 205, knowing he had that extra 20 pounds, and it maybe slowed you down, and whatnot. I mean, he's also getting older too, 41 or whatever he is. But that being said, Phil Davis is very, very good, and it's hard to be able to swing those bombs against somebody that is looking to take you down, just because you're always weary of that, right? So yeah, it's a tough fight for him, but yeah, good for Davis, huge win.
It's great for Phil Davis. I wonder now, because I saw Anthony Rumble Johnson pulled himself out of the Grand Prix.
Rumble versus Romero.
We get the fight finally.
Yeah, I think it's the stars they crashed before, but now they're aligning again, and I think he can now, with Romero coming off a loss, Rumble out of the tournament. Unfortunately, just it sets it up for the match, man.
Yeah, that's when now Bellator has to go back to absolutely either beginning of 2022 or whatever their remaining cards are. If they're going to have one in December, obviously we know they got those two shows in Russia and Ireland. Obviously I wouldn't put it there, but your last show of 2021 if it's feasible, or for sure your first show of 2022. You got to put that fight out there. But man, the stars are aligning, and I mean, it was once again Bellator versus UFC, and I thought, as we said last week, Bellator had the better card, and I think the bigger story coming out of it with the the rebirth of Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis. Yeah,
it was big, man. We were calling the fight, so by the time I got home, I only got to see the last two fights. With that being the Gracie getting the win.
His first ever KO,
yeah. So that's pretty cool to see. I mean, you watch him fight, you just expect he's going to take it out and submit you or try to submit you, obviously. But yeah, on the feet, nice uppercut to kind of start the flurry off and finished on the feet, which is was pretty good, man.
Yeah, well, you know what, Bellator, they can put on those great cards like that, and they had the great energy.
San
Jose, yeah, like that's their now, I guess, because of Coker and his affiliations with that building with Strikeforce. That's now their home away from home, and I expect more cards there and more atmosphere and great nights like that Bellator had. Because all in all, I would say that even though you bring in a guy like Romero and he loses, one of your guys that's a former champion gets a win, gets some shine, and some names just pop up that you're like, whoa, I need to take a look at him. Like as you said, Gracie getting the win as a result there of KO, his first career KO on the car in his mixed martial arts career, and as well, like you look here at this Ben Parrish guy, like 38-second KO over Christian Edwards, who was a guy Bellator was building up as a light heavyweight.
Yeah. I get to see just the highlights of it, but I didn't. That's huge. Obviously, the other one was Rogers that beat Georgie.
Yeah, Saul.
Yeah, I mean, any win over Georgie it's a big win, right? He's a tough cat, and then and the girl fight.
Deanna Bennett and Alejandra
Lara, that's right. Yeah, Bennett won a decision, right? I believe it was.
She did, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, good for Bellator that they have all that, and that brings the energy to continue over to this weekend, Josh, as we have UFC 266, which I would say arguably this is one of the better pay-per-views the UFC is going to put on, because not only do you have Volkanovski versus Ortega.
I don't care about the title fights, bro.
No, we're getting to it. We're getting to it.
The main event is the third.
Yeah. Well, we got to get
last fight.
We got Volkanovski, Ortega featherweight title. We got Valentina Shevchenko versus Lauren Murphy women's flyweight title. But more importantly, the return of Nick Diaz
versus fighting
Robbie Lawler. Like, guys, these two fought back at UFC 47 in 2004. And I saw today a tweet from Nick Baldwin saying the distance between the last time these two guys fought in terms of months is 209 months, Josh. 209. This is just perfect. This is just perfect.
That's funny. It's funny that somebody goes to the length to think of that. You know what I mean? But I guess there's so many stats guys out there. But yeah, man, this is my main event. No, I mean the other fights are great. Don't get me wrong. But this is the one I want to see. The one I'm hyped for. I'm a huge Diaz fan, and I'm a huge Lawler fan. But yeah, I mean. The Diaz's, I remember when I first started watching, I was like, "Oh, I don't like these guys, man. These guys just like they're talking shit, and blah blah blah." And then they grew on me, and especially Nick. I'm a huge fan of Nick, and I mean Nate too, but I've always been a big fan of Nick. And it just, not seeing him fight for so long, I'm like, when's this guy coming back? And whatnot, and then to come back and fight a guy like Robbie and they've already fought before. So many years ago, like you said, 209 months ago. And I think it's a perfect match to do now. They're both older, you know what I mean? When they first fought, they were like 19 and 21 or something like that, like something crazy. Now they're older in their career. I think it's just kind of come full circle, and it's awesome. I'm so pumped for that.
The last time these guys fought, I was in the 9th grade. So I mean, that just tells, I had just started high school. So it's been that long, but I mean, their careers have just gone all over the place since they first met at UFC 47, where, Nick, he gets those wins, he puts those exciting fights on at the UFC, gets cut by the UFC or leaves, fights in Pride, Rumble on the Rock, the Gomi fight gets overturned. He goes to Elite XC and he becomes like the guy in Strikeforce to get back to the UFC, and then the marijuana suspension. And then we haven't seen him since. Like, we didn't even know if he wanted to still fight, because he seemed like he was enjoying those Vegas nightlife out a lot, partying. And then all of a sudden we see, he's just, doing his triathlons and getting back in amazing shape.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt that this is a guy that is going to like miss a step. I know we always talk about, is ring rust and cage rust a thing? Sure. But I just don't see it with the cardio of a Nick Diaz right now.
No. And let's not forget, he fought, his last fight was Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and didn't Anderson pop for that?
Yeah, they both did.
They both did. Well, I mean,
Nick popped for weed, but Anderson popped for steroids.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy that this guy would get a 5-year sentence for smoking weed, and then like a TJ Dillashaw gets 2 years for EPO. Craziness. It's insane, but it's done now, and it's passed, and hopefully never happen again. But to fight Anderson Silva, who's juiced out, apparently. Anderson Silva, I don't remember what he popped for.
I don't either. No.
But anyways, even if a clean Anderson Silva, so to go up a weight class to 185 and to do what he did, lay down in the cage and do his famous pose, and then still, like, I mean, he lost the fight, but was in the fight the whole time, you know what I mean? Like, and he's so durable and tough, and just he's a guy like you can't put away, really, unless it's you cut him or something like that. But yeah, man, I'm pumped to see it, and Robbie, just who doesn't like Robbie Lawler? You know what I mean? He's a legend as well. So the two together, amazing.
Like, it's just the perfect matchup, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best matchup I think UFC's made for anyone besides some title fights this year.
The matchmakers got it right on this one.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I can't wait to see what they do. And I mean, for Robbie Lawler, like, he gets a win here. He kind of, in a way, keeps more life on his career, because we're all talking like this could be the end of
redemption or some revenge from the early loss too. You know,
it's just, I just can't believe we're getting to see this fight and that it's going to happen in a matter of a few days. And I don't know.
When was this fight? Was it like 2005? You said or something?
2004.
2004.
April 2nd, 2004.
Imagine like after the fight, it'd be like, oh, don't worry, you know, you guys will meet up again. And then imagine someone said, yeah, it's going to be in 2021. You know what I mean? You're like, what?
Yeah,
you know, craziness. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
And just how much has changed for both the guys. Like for Nick, I ran through, but it's like Robbie, that was like it for him in the UFC. Fought in like Hawaii. Then he was like the welterweight champion in Elite XC.
Yeah.
Then he like barely was just hanging on in Strikeforce, and UFC was just kind of giving him a fight just to be like, I got to honor your contract. And then he started winning and became their welterweight champion. Yeah. And now he's on the tail end. But with Robbie Lawler, you don't know. Like, you literally don't know if this could be the end of it, because both these guys are just cut from that cloth that I don't think a lot of people are cut from anymore.
I agree. They're the old school mentality fighters that, it's kind of gone away from. It wasn't about like followers and fame really for these guys. It was like it is now, and popularity, even though they are so popular, but they're popular because of their cage fighting abilities and their skill sets rather than the outside of the cage bullshit. You know what I mean? So, it's pretty rare.
And I think it's just because they're just real guys. They're not trying to put on a facade of I'm this, I'm that.
There's no show there.
That's who they are. Yeah. Like
authentic.
Who they are. Yeah, they're authentic. Who they are in the cage is who they are out of it. And that's what's made Lawler as respected as he is, but especially the Diaz brothers. Is like, they're the most real deal people in all of MMA. Like, they're not putting on an act. That's just how they are and how they think.
Yeah, and people say, the people that say they do, that Diaz has put on an act, it's not so much an act as it's their mentality of when they are competing against somebody, they have to get into the mindset of hating that person, because that is their trigger. That gets them in the right mental headspace to be able to compete at the highest level. If they're going in there buddy with somebody, you're not going to get the same Diaz's, right? So a lot of people are like that, but they showcase it. You know what I mean? They'll talk shit and get in your face and whatnot, because that's what gets them in the right mindset. You can see right after the fights, it's like pure humbleness and respect and honor, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But until the fight's over, their opponent is their worst enemy.
I just can't wait to see. Like, this one we know is 99% chance of standing on the feet. Like the first one was. Like, there'll be maybe some grappling, some wrestling, but I expect both these guys to just try to trade where,
And they made it a 5-rounder.
Yes, that's also it's a 5-rounder too. Yeah. God bless.
This is pretty cool. It's pretty cool that they did that, because there's 2 title fights already on the card, because this could easily just been a 3-rounder. But I think just due to the craziness and marquee names, they made it a 5-rounder.
Oh, it's just the best fight to have this year.
Which I think probably, I mean, Robbie's got a gas tank on him, but I think overall the Diaz is, the longer the fights are, the better for them.
Exactly. I mean, you can't deny someone's cardio that they just do triathlons for fun. Like, you don't compete in that for fun if you don't have the ability to have cardio and whatnot. And just seeing the shape Nick's in, like, is unbelievable for a guy that hasn't fought since 2015.
Yeah. How old is he now? 39?
Oh man, let's take a look here. Nick Diaz is 38 years old. He turned 38 beginning of August.
Okay. So he's still, I mean, it's because he started fighting at 18, some shit like that. So that's why these guys, they seem like they should be 48, you know what I mean? Because I've been watching for so long. But I mean, still 38, it's not old. I mean, it's older in the sport, but it's not like he's 46 fighting still in the UFC. So he's still got some time, and especially guys like that their endurance is so good,
It's crazy to me that this run that, I mean, obviously there's a suspension and he's been off since 2015, but Nick Diaz's run in this return to the UFC started in 2011, and it will continue now 10 years after he demolished BJ Penn and made his eyes so swollen.
Yeah. I mean,
I just can't believe it just feels like shorter than that, but wow, it was 2011 when that happened.
Crazy, right? Yeah, 2011, man. That's what we were talking about. Time flies so fast. It's crazy.
The last 4 guys Nick Diaz has fought before this are BJ Penn, Carlos Condit, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, and now Robbie Lawler. Talk about a Hall of Fame last 4 guys you fought.
All of them Hall of Famers.
So I can't wait for that fight. I mean, this is like I said, it's a pretty good card. Obviously, the main event, the featherweight fight. I mean, we wanted to see it. We were supposed to see it back in April before Volkanovski and his team got COVID, pushed it away. But I think it kind of worked out that they now get pushed to September.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were on The Ultimate Fighter. They tried to build up some animosity on there, and I think Volk makes it seem like there was more, but the cameras didn't really show it that much. But all in all, this is a banging title fight at 145 pounds.
It's a good fight, man. I don't know who I'm going to go with on this one. It's hard to bet against Volkanovski just because of how good he's been looking, and like the fights with Holloway and wins over guys like Mendez and whatnot. But man, he's just I don't know how this is gonna. But then Ortega's last fight he looks better than ever. Stellar on the feet too. I don't know if I'll go Volkanovski. Just but close fight.
It's going to be a close fight. I could see it being that technical battle that Volk likes to make it. The one thing I have to say is people still say that he didn't win the second Holloway fight, and I'm not calling him like the real champion. I stop with this nonsense. Like, he won. I thought he won it, honestly, 48-47. He won the last 3 rounds, did enough to where in those close fights, sometimes you just got to do enough each round and you score the points enough to win. He did that. It wasn't a robbery or anything like that. He is the rightful champion, and he's beaten Max Holloway not once but twice.
Yeah, it was. There's no robberies in either of those fights. They were very, very close. You can't say he's not the real champ because, just
because you don't like the result.
Yeah, if Holloway got those, you might be saying, he's not still shouldn't be the champ because Volkanovski actually beat him. But those fights were. But it just shows you he's that level. He's Holloway and him are like this. You know what I mean? So he is that championship material, like he showed. And he's the champ right now, man. So,
yeah, I'm leaning Holloway. I'm leaning Volkanovski as well. I think he's just gonna find a way to make it the tactical fight. On the ground could be a bit of a wild card, especially with how good Ortega is with his jiu-jitsu. But I'm still leaning Volkanovski. He's right now just the cream of the crop at 145. Honestly, him and McKee are like the 2 best featherweights right there. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Ortega won. I mean, that's how close and competitive this fight is.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to get underneath him to get the takedown because Volk is a short, featherweight. He's about like my height, but he's thick. So. But then that being said, he gives up the reach advantage. But Holloway had a way longer reach advantage, and he was able to get inside and do some damage there. So, tough fight, but I'm gonna lean slightly towards Volkanovski.
And then the co-main event is Valentina Shevchenko defending the women's flyweight title against Lauren Murphy. I know a lot of people aren't giving Lauren Murphy a chance in this.
No.
I think she has a chance. It's a fight. Anyone has a chance. But I think she's handling it well. Like, she's deserved this for a while. She's been awarded the opportunity. I think she's just got the right confident mindset where she's not overconfident, not saying the wrong things, and just trying to take it as the moment is. And I think that sometimes makes for a very scary challenger.
Yeah, I agree with that. Don't make it, don't say, this, the more you build up, this person's hasn't been beaten so long. She's undefeated in the UFC at this weight class, I believe, anyway. Only losses are to Nunes at a weight class up. And the more you build this up, the more, this person gets bigger and bigger and more invincible. So, you go back to what, I deserve this. I put in the work. I've deserved this shot. I've paid my dues. I'm a tough competitor. I'm one of the second best in the world right now. Why can't I do it? Right. So you got to have that mentality. And I think so far she's showcasing that very well. So we'll see though, but come fight night, it's, we've seen Shevchenko. She's just very, very well-rounded. You know what I mean? Her striking obviously is top notch, but she showed her ground game and wrestling game are very well too. So it's a tough task to get her out of there.
Well, especially how she looked against Jessica Andrade back in April. Like I thought Andrade would at least maybe take a round, max 2, and she just denied that, shut it down, and got the finish in that fight. But I don't know. I think Lauren Murphy, I'm just happy for her. She's got the opportunity. And it's one of those where she earned it. She had to fight. She's on a 5-fight winning streak. She didn't have to do anything in the media. Her performance has led her to this opportunity right now. So
yeah, it was also, I mean, I know they're running out of contenders for them, but it wasn't like she had one fight, got a title fight just because there's nobody. You know what I mean? Yeah, she put a get together run and 5-fight streak, man. That's big.
Definitely is. And we also have another women's flyweight fight, Jessica Andrade versus Cynthia Calvia, who I know oh so well.
Yeah. So this is a big one for Cynthia because I went over somebody like an Andrade, former champ. That's huge for her. So I think this is a great opportunity for her to beat a huge name, and really propel her to title shot. You know what I mean? And I think she's right there. So I'm excited to see it, and I think she can do it. I think, I know Andrade is super powerful for that division, but Cynthia's trained with her many times. She trains with all the guys, and she's tough and durable everywhere.
And I mean, she's taken a decent amount of time off since her last fight, where she came up short in the bout. And
who's she fighting again?
She fought in that fight. She lost to Caitlin Chukagian, who's always a tough contender around that women's 125 mark.
In that fight, she had a lot of trouble getting inside that 2kg, and I can't ever say. She's super long for that division. I think that's what gave Cynthia a lot of problems. Going the opposite now, Andrade is a short, stocky, more compact, powerful fighter. So completely different styles, but this one might benefit Cynthia better.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, you've taken, that fight was in November 2020. It's, almost it'll be the end of September 2021. You've taken time. You're making the effort to improve. So I expect the best of her. And, Andrade, I think, is looking to, wash the taste out of her mouth after her title performance against Shevchenko back in April. But this card's really good, Josh. Like our feature prelim, Marlon Moraes, Merab Dvalishvili. That's a good bantamweight fight.
That is a good fight. That's a tough matchup for Marlon because, I was saying, Marlon, and I think Marlon can win that fight, but I think he's got to win that fight in the first 8 minutes or less, maybe even 5-6 minutes, because that he's a pressure fighter, but his biggest weapon, I think, is his endurance and durability and gas tank. He's able to keep that pressure on people for a long time. And Marlon's biggest weakness is his gas tank. He tends to start very, very strong and he's super dangerous, but then tends to fade as the fight goes on. So I'm sure Marlon knows that, and they're both aware of that. So I'm sure they've worked on everything. But that's a great fight. I'm excited to see that.
And the thing, if you're Marlon, obviously you got to find a way to stuff a takedown because Dvalishvili sets records for takedowns that he's had in this weight class. Just output, just will pick you up, take you down, get up. Same thing's going to happen. He's that Georgian mentality right now.
Yeah, and that's you've seen Marlon with look what he did to Cejudo for the first 6-7 minutes. He killed him, and then Cejudo just kind of weathered it and kept putting the pressure on him, and eventually Marlon just kind of folded and ran out of gas. So I'm sure Merab's seen that, and that's kind of going to be his game plan. We'll see if Marlon can make some changes because Marlon's a guy that's just like, I don't know what's happened, but I think ever since he left Mark Henry, it seems he just kind of been on a downward spiral. Because when he got to the UFC, he was freaking lighting everybody up. And then his last run of late, he hasn't had a whole lot of success. So we'll see if he can turn it around.
I think as well, he's a guy that's benefiting for taking the time off, because I think after he lost the Sandhagen fight, he took that Rob Font fight too quickly. I don't think he healed up. I don't think his jaw and his body had healed up at all. But now he's taken a lot of time off. He's taken more than half a year off to get his body back and ready. And I think we'll see the best Marlon. But I mean, this is also a big step up for Merab. Like, this is the biggest name he's fought in the UFC at this weight class. So I think that's what makes it such a compelling fight at 135, where everyone's just jockeying for positioning to see who's going to be the next number one contender.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a whole slew of killers there.
Yeah, and the other fight on this card that I think is very interesting is now Dan Hooker, Nasrat Hasparak, because Dan Hooker just got his visa today to fly from New Zealand to Vegas to compete on this card because of how strict the COVID situation is in New Zealand, and how tight their lockdown is. So he's pretty much flying, like, I believe Wednesday or Thursday, and getting to Vegas like around the same time as he had left on that side of the world, and gonna weigh in and gonna fight. Like, that just shows that's that old killer mindset right there.
We'll see if he can make weight, as that might be, kind of an issue with the whole time shift, and also coming off a plane. I know I retain a lot of water, so I usually like to get there a little early. So if you get there and like literally have to weigh in super quickly, that could be problems for him. But hopefully he has enough time.
That's the one where I would say, obviously time is a weird factor in this one, just from how big of a time zone difference you're changing through. But take as much time as you can, because it's like a 2-hour window to weigh in. You got to be just the last guy. Like, you got to step on the scale, like right at the horn. They got to count your weigh in right then and there. So use as much time as possible. And I think Dan will make the weight. This is a guy that seems ready, and he looked in pretty good shape from what I saw from him today on when he was doing an interview. So hopefully, and he's a professional. So and this guy that's also looking to showcase what he can do. I mean, he kind of felt embarrassed, I think, from the Chandler loss back in January.
Yeah. He's try and bounce back, obviously, and make a statement and put him back on that top 5-8 guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's UFC 266, a card we all can't wait for, especially the early Christmas gift, I guess UFC is giving us, of Nick Diaz, Robbie Lawler, 5 rounds, which I totally forgotten about until you had mentioned that. But yeah, I can't wait for that. And that'll bring us to a conclusion for this week, Josh. And we'll wind things down here and be back next week to break down all the happenings of UFC 266 and whatever craziness happens in the world of MMA.
Sounds good, man.
All right. Well, plug yourself out there on Instagram so we can see some good memes you post, because I saw a good one the other day that you had posted. I can't remember which one it was, but it was one that I did get a little chuckle of.
At Gentleman J Hill.
All right. Well, Josh, have yourself a good rest of your evening, and we'll be back next week to break down everything that is in the world of MMA. So for the Gentleman Josh Hill, I'm Jason Hagholm. Peace out, and we'll see you all next week.